All right, thank you for staying with us. So let's get into that discussion. It's International Youth Day. The theme this year is Youth Engagement for Global Action. We know now that 39% of Kenyans' youth are unemployed. That is based on the recent census. And we know that about 5 million of them out of the 13 million do not have work. And we keep churning out more from universities every other day. Let's bring in Roy Sasaka, who's the CEO for National Youth Council, and Honorable Gideon Keter, who's the nominated member of parliament representing the youth in parliament. He's opened up parliament for the youth so that they're no longer viewed as strangers. Honorable Keter, I'll start with you. So what are the youth of Kenya really celebrating today? Because there's a lot of exacerbation. They're losing their jobs. They don't have jobs. Why should they be celebrating?
Actually, this week is more of a both celebration and reminding ourselves what else we need to do, or what are the remaining assignments from in our journey, in our path. There is a path in which we want to take as Kenyans, and taking advantage of the demographic dividends and the growth of our economy, and also the safe spaces that have been created by our constitution, towards developing the life of a young person. What we actually rejoicing right now is the discussion around youth is centered in the government agenda. As even if we are not yet there, we see we are almost out of the jungle. We're still trying to because the whole subject is a bit complex, because it is interrelated from the government to the executive, the government, which is the executive, and the legislation, and also the supporting non-state actors like the civil societies. So when we try to merge and find a way in which we need to prioritize, a day like this where we have come from governments where they were not able to recognize youth, to a government that is recognizing youth, and then a government that is willing to engage on what are the possible steps towards helping a young person. Even in crises like this, when you find a government trying to inject or stimulate the economy around young people by creating jobs like Kazi Mtaani, is simply trying to say, we want to inject money back through the young people so that the circulation of money within the country, it can be felt and also can cure the challenges of unemployment, the idleness, and also the depression, the mental health in itself. So when it comes to legislation, we have made tremendous progress. When it comes to political participation, we have made some progress. When it comes to the executive, we have made some progress. And we are aware at the same time, with this progress that we've made, there are also things that we feel that needs to be corrected, or there are things that need to be reworked on or relooked into. And all these things are at the center of our International Youth Week, reminding ourselves that what we did in 2018, what we did in 2019, where are we in 2020, and where do we want to be in 2021?
All right, we'll delve deeper into that in just a bit, but let me bring in Roy Sasaka on this. Roy, you know this year's theme is Youth Engagement for Global Action, but are the youth currently engaged in anything meaningful? We talk about Kazi Mtaani, but how long is it that even sustainable?
Thank you, Trevor. When you look at youth engagement, we are looking at how are youth engaged both in all spheres of life, be it political, be it social, and be it economical. When you look at what the government has achieved so far today, and I like what Honorable Keter has just said, the work of the government is to create that framework and atmosphere for the youth to prosper. Picking up on the rate of the issue of unemployment, we need to say that when you look at that rate, the government is actually creating that atmosphere for the youth to prosper, not only in the white-collar sector, but also in the blue-collar sector, and also just to create what you call entrepreneurial culture and spirit in the country. And that informs why we have, the government has invested heavily in terms of affirmative funds, that is Women Enterprise Fund, and even Uwezo Enterprise Fund, so that these can create opportunities for our young people to be engaged at the economic front. And what that means, Trevor, is that a young person has created economic opportunities for themselves. They've been able to put food on their table, and also create opportunities for other young people by even employing other young people. So that we are not only looking at the government as the only source of employment, but we're looking at all the stakeholders and the government creating that atmosphere. And I believe HE has done well so far. It's only now to escalate more and invest more in such. When you look at political participation, engagement of young people, Trevor, I would want to agree that the greatest beneficiaries of even the new constitution are the young people. We've seen the increase in number of MCAs being elected and also being nominated. We have young members of parliament representing us in Senate, led by, of course, Honorable Keter. We have young members of parliament representing us in the Senate, led by Honorable Chebeni. And we see even the president in his executive, just in January, expanding his CSS and coming in, appointing young CSS as to join his executive arm. And Trevor, if you're not aware, during the Generation Unlimited launch on 5th, our president, his HE, made a commitment to the Republic of Kenya and say that he's going to increase the number of CSS in the country, and which will just be on the watch. Soon he's going to unveil more young people to join his government at the top leadership. Okay. When I see this, Trevor, I see success for the young people, and I see that the requests we've been making to His Excellency the President are bearing fruit, and there's something for the young people to celebrate.
Okay. Let me bring in Keter back again. Keter, you spoke about issues around Kazi Mtaani, but we know now that there's some young people who have not been paid. And even then, you are the representative of the young people in the National Assembly. Very briefly, what would you say is your greatest achievement right now?
The greatest achievement right now is young people is at the center of discussion. Young people is also considered as a stakeholder in our country. The conversations that we are holding, the conversation that we've held in the past, majorly to create safe spaces for a young person in our country to be able to develop, to be given a good environment, to explore, to take an adventure within our country in all spheres, when it comes to education, governance, from the county assembly and the rest. That is something that was not happening in the past. And again, we are aware of where we are. And as a representative of young person, I know many young Kenyans are not. But they are not happy, but they see progress, they see hope in any government that is going to come because of the provision that we have been provided by in the Constitution. Number one, when it comes to young people, the young people being elected in Kenya, it is no longer something that is impossible. It is possible. Now, the question is, are these young people aware that it is possible to be elected as a young person and to go to parliament and represent the youth interest? So what do we need to do? What they need to do is show up and be elected and campaign and sell their agenda. Secondly, is we are aware about the red tapes around employment legislations that are gagging young people when it comes to they are looking for job creation. Because employment without opportunities, which now the government is supposed to be the one creating opportunities for employment. And then if, like, constitution normally is created during crisis, and then policy is normally informed by issues. And then these issues needs to be cured based on, is it workable with this section of people? So when you see at the legislation level where the members are able to identify that young people are truly suffering when it comes to unemployment. But what can we do to see that when in future we can create a better environment for them to be able to get jobs? That's why they support the creation of injecting credit to the youth space so that they can access credit easily, and then they can support their entrepreneurial process. Then there is also another debate on education and training. When you see, even in Parliament, injecting more money to technical institution or bringing back technical institution is a sign that they are aware of the data and they are willing to see that we are equipped, we have equipped our young people with soft skills to enable them get more jobs.
Okay.
So such conversations around the youth, like now these issues about Kazim Tani, I know it's not it might not be sustainable. Some people might see as if it is it does not touch every side, but I want to assure everyone that this program is very important. Reason number one is it takes off many of your young people from the street who will have been busy engaged in illegal activities like drugs and the rest. And then at the same time, when any government, like traditional economics, dictates that or advises that, if we want to make our country rich, what are the things that we need to do? Number one is ensure these highly educated people and the labor force can be able to be engaged and be given an environment in which they can be able to co-create together with the government, or enable them to prioritize their agenda and their synergies towards supporting the economy of the country. Not only leaving them back at home, training them, and then we leave them thinking, oh, where do we get jobs? But we need to stimulate their creativity, their innovations, to be able to, even if you are wherever you are, with a high infrastructure that had been set up by the government, how can you use it to create more jobs, like to start a small business, and then as you plan to start that business, how can you be able to access credit? And there's avenues like Youth Fund, there are avenues like Wezo Fund. And if you have an issue, do you feel that the government is listening? If it is not, do you have someone who can speak for you? Do you have a safe space where you can, or do you have some people who can speak on your behalf? And all these avenues are available, because as leaders, we always ask the young people, we are here to help. Do you have something that we need to solve? Because I can tell you, Trevor, from 2018, when we were creating safe spaces for young people and opening up parliament and opening up good governance by inviting even young people to legislation, to national assemblies and county assemblies, there are things young people actually suggested that if you cure this in employment, if you cure this in this type of loan, if you cure this in this type of program, we'll be able to navigate in our own business happily, because the well-being of our young person also needs to be equated together with happiness.
Okay.
Are we happy? Are the policies we are making in parliament and the program that we are making as government, are they making young people happy?
Okay.
That is the question that we always ask ourselves every now and then before any programs comes out.
All right, let's bring in Roy again on this. And Roy, you spoke about the issue of a Youth Fund, a Wezo Fund. Why can't all these funds be consolidated under one? Because most of the time there's lack of information to the young people. They don't know where to go, how to access it. Even the accessibility in itself is a problem.
Trevor, I think you are reading ahead of us, because when you look at what is being the discussion right now, is that His Excellency the President commissioned a task force, which is the Biashara Fund Kenya Task Force, which is just trying to harness and consolidate all the funds together and make sure that the funds actually access the young people. So that is a discussion already being spearheaded by National Treasury. As National Youth Council, we brought together all the youth serving organizations, and we made a submission on how do we make sure that this fund, if it's consolidated, the greatest beneficiary is the young people. And Trevor, the discussion is at an advanced stage, and as young people, we pushed, even from the 100% allocation, we are pushing for 60% of that fund to actually go to the young people, informed by the numbers and percentages of the young people. We also pushed that even in the leadership and governance of that fund, we need to have young people sitting there in decision making. We also pushed that, Trevor, that even the initial startup capital for that, because it had been suggested to 2 billion, we requested His Excellency to consider even the fund starting at either 10 billion or 15 billion. So the discussion is on the table. However, when you look at the issue of information accessibility, Trevor, that's why as National Youth Council, we've been very key in terms of the sensitization campaign that we've been rolling out. so that young people in the grassroots access this information. And we believe that by accessing that information is actually the first source of being empowered. So that is the discussion already, and that is one of the major legacy His Excellency wants to leave us behind. And with the support of our CS Musheru, we are actually advancing that agenda right now, Trevor. And Trevor, I heard you mention something about Kazi Mtaani. We realize that the pandemic, Trevor, when you look at the greatest casualties, were the young people. The young people were the people who were in the matatu industry. The young people were actually the one who were in the hospitality industry. And that informed the decision by His Excellency to launch actually the program. So the program is not supposed to be here forever, but it's supposed to cushion young people now as we focus on economic recovery. Once we are back on track, then the program can be remodeled into something else. And what this means is that we have a government, we have a president who is listening, who is also feeling the pinch of a young person losing a job, and even coming up with mechanism to cushion them. Because the pandemic has not only hit Kenya, but it's a global crisis. But as a country, we are looking at how do we now cushion our young people? How do we make sure that our young people are actually protected during this pandemic period? Because I believe once the economy is back on track, we'll have young people actively engaged in all sectors of the economy, Trevor.
All right, and let's bring in now Keter. Keter, you spoke about the issue of political participation, and also Royce Asaka has also mentioned it, that the president is going to appoint some CASs who are young people, and also yourself as a representation of the youth in parliament. But even then, do they actually have space to operate with their own mindset, or are they still under the political cronies who then now it beats the whole purpose, because they still have to dance to the political tunes of the people who put them there, so that their independent mindset doesn't really even come in?
Trevor, before even I answer that one, I have a contrary opinion on consolidating the funds together. With this reason, women are known or have better experience, or from statistics, the rate at which Women Enterprise Fund have been utilized by women is actually something that I can tell you from statistics, women tend to be more organized simply because of experience, and with the help of some even are married, so they have the experience of their husbands and the rest. So they will be able to take away larger stake from the youth if we consolidate the fund and say we want to put the women fund and youth fund. In that fund, I can tell you, Trevor, women will take all the stake of the money from statistics. So the idea of merging these funds is actually literally denying young people an opportunity to access fund. Because if you go to these offices, they will always tell you, oh, young people are not coming for it, young people are this, young people are this. I agree. They might take some time before they access this fund, not because they really don't want to, but they are learning how to. Because they are young, they need to be nurtured and be guided. There are documents they don't have, but when it comes to women, they already have. And we have suffered before from people masquerading around youth programs, just putting young people's names and then they show up in that. So that's my opinion on that. If we merge this fund to put together in Biashara Fund and then say we put women and youth, youth will lose. That one I am very sure. Because the 47 women representatives, if they decide to assist one youth group or one women group from their counties, who will be able to assist young people from all the 47 counties? When it comes to political participation now, to the question you asked me, I am the only one representing youth in parliament. If I have to queue a bill, I have to queue following the entire queue. There's no favorism that because you are representing youth or the special interest, you'll be given first priority. So all these things is affecting us. But this is what I would like to say. And I want to tell young people, let us understand the avenues that are available in our country, especially in our constitution. And then let us stop our behavior of creating alternative forums when it comes to governance issues. we are quick to go and create a hashtag or make something on Facebook trend or run to a small forum somewhere in our WhatsApp group and think we have discussed something and we will see results by simply merely opening up a WhatsApp group or making it trend. Running away from the political party participations. I want to tell young people today, if we want to see our voice being heard and being at the center of our country, we need not to run away from political party participation. If young people in Jubilee Party or ODM or WIPA believe that we need to fight teenage pregnancies, it needs to come from political parties. That the leaders in the political parties who have access to power and can discuss, can go to parliament or submit through their private members in parliament so that they can discuss. We should not be measured by only the economic growth, but we need to be measured by the well-being as well of the citizens.
Okay.
Yes, for example, right now we are at the center of discussion of revenue allocations. All parties, all political parties, all leaders are discussing and bringing these issues based on party positions. The same thing if it comes to youth. If we discuss this thing from the youth perspective, and I can tell you, for example, from the Jubilee Manifesto, I know the things that I have been able to propagate, and I know the president understands. For example, the internships. He promised internships. We promised so many other things, and I know the things that we've not promised, and I can easily negotiate and discuss and lobby. For example, Studio Mashinani. This is a moment whereby if we had Studio Mashinani, that program implemented, we will have seen many young people back at home trying to be creative and coming up with talent ideas and without going further, without coming all the way to Nairobi. And that is something I promise young people in this International Youth Day that I will discuss with the Ministry of Sports and Culture, that we need to set up Studio Mashinanis in all the counties to assist the talent creation and it will stimulate the economy.
Okay.
You asked me.
Yeah.
Very briefly. Me that even if we are given this position, will we speak on an independent mind? Now, that is also a challenge, but we are still finding a cure. In this instance, party positions, when it comes to some agendas, needs to be agreed upon. And the people who will bring up this conversation are the young people in those political parties. So we are affected when we are few people who can discuss or raise an issue, and then the majority say that is not important. We have something else which is important.
Okay.
So the thing is this, the cure is this. Let us show up in governance through political party participation, so that when we are given an opportunity, we don't have just one voice, but all flowers will be able to blossom, and then avoid the issue whereby we are just paper tigers and we are just being given positions with no funds.
So basically what you're saying is that you're outnumbered in basic terms.
Yes, we are outnumbered.
Okay, let's bring in Roy on this.
Trevor, if you look at the budget that was allocated to youth fund, 300 million go to recurrent budget. 60 million is going to loans. Those are things that's a loan that will be borrowed within one week.
All right. Let's bring in Roy on this. And Roy, the other issue is, it's not a lack of legislation. We have AGPO, Access to Government Procurement Opportunities, which is meant for women, youth, and persons with disability. 30% of all procurement should go to them. But it is still not happening. And also, there's not the entire value chain. Even if one of them gets it, you cannot get funding because of having an LPO. So then it's like shooting ourselves in the foot. How then do we ensure that the youth, when they're empowered, they're actually empowered rather than just having it on paper?
Thank you, Trevor. Let me start, of course, by adding more information to what Honorable Kitere has mentioned about Studio Mashinani. Trevor, I want to confirm that indeed, having listened to Mheshimiwa, the ministry has also taken up that initiative. And just 2 weeks ago, I think there was another launch of Studio Mashinani in Kitui, and so many other areas where it has been, where the ministry has set up the studio Mashinani just to spur innovation and creativity amongst our youth and to promote talent creation, as Mheshimiwa Honorable Ketere has said. So it will just be a matter of scaling it up and making sure that it is in every area. Coming up to the discussion, Trevor, that is a discussion that has occupied our minds for a very long time. What are some of the challenges why youth have not been able to uptake some of these programs or funds to a 100% uptake rates? One of it, Trevor, it is us young people not actually taking advantage of the programs like the AGPO, not maximally utilizing it. Two, it's also on the other side, Trevor, where we are saying, when you look at LPO financing, we have those programs in Youth Enterprise Fund. The only challenge that the Youth Enterprise Fund has faced is when they have already guaranteed that LPO and they have advanced the money, then the institution that was advanced the money, and this problem has majorly been through, of course, let me just say the county governments, do not go ahead and honor the agreement by paying through the account that was agreed upon. So that means once the organization has received their funding, they have no motivation to pay back. And this one now impacts on other youth who want to utilize that facility. It means when you go for that money will not be there because somebody else has taken the money and has not repaid, because this is a revolving fund. So it calls for collective responsibility, Trevor, from both the stakeholders, be it as the young people who need the access to facility, and also the institutions who are being given the funding, the LPO funding,
Right.
and also as an institution who are advancing the funding. So that once all of us are accountable,
Right.
then this project will be more well utilized. And more so, Trevor, is sensitization, and that's why I celebrate you during this International Youth Day, just to bring about the discussion on how can the youth benefit from their affirmative funds.
All right.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Roy Sasaka, CEO, National Youth Council, and Honorable Gideon Ketere, nominated Member of Parliament representing the youth. They're all heading into an International Youth Day function right now as we speak. The theme this year is Youth Engagement for Global Action. We'll bring up the information that comes out from those engagements after this. We're taking a quick break here. When we come back, we're speaking to another youthful person who's already a leader, Anne Nyaga. Honorable Anne Nyaga, she's the CAS, Ministry of Agriculture. We'll be speaking to her in just a bit. Is agriculture still the backbone of the economy? And how come the young people are not being involved? The average age of a farmer today in Kenya is 60 years old. Ponder on that for a bit.